How to make reality obey you in 90 days because you are done playing the game backwards. It's not about efforting harder, we know that. But it's about knowing how to access the version of you who's already at the end, having what she or he wants. Whether that is landing your dream job in 90 days, starting your business or scaling it, and having increased life expansion in 90 days in the physical plane. So what better way than to make reality obey you? So let's get started. One of the quotes that I really like, and I've been using it since I was running this soft skill job interview workshop years ago. And I used to always tell the attendees that, at least in job interviews, mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power. And since the universe is you, if you don't have the ability to master yourself, then how do you tell the 3D reality and the universe that you are its master? Because the thing is, when I used to be young and easily influenced, even though I was ambitious, what would happen is that we would understand, or at least I understood this on a theoretical level, that it's really good to influence other people to want to say yes to you. Mastering, the people interviewing you to want to hire you is strength. But it's not about making other people change directly, but it's about conquering your inner state so that it's so magnetic that people just want to change to give you what you want. But the thing is, the minute that you start to pursue the things that you actually want to pursue, and it's not congruent or in alignment with people in your default ecosystem, they're going to start giving you their 2 cents of advice and opinions like, why don't you just get that job? They might just be like, but why? Why are you doing this? Why are you going to swim like this? Why you want to live in that suburb? Isn't it too expensive? Why don't you save money first or something? Or why don't you go get MBA if you want to increase your income? Go get more qualified and certified, which, yeah, of course. But why don't you just wait 5 more years and just go and get some master's degree in MBA before you can become what you want to become? When MBA and masters is not, you're not passionate about getting it. I mean, you can if you want, but if you can get what you want without having to go through the hoops, then why do you have to listen to the opinions of others that will keep you in a vibrational prison? And the thing is, I want to ask you something. Is the person who allows these weights, like why don't you go get that job, 50 kilogram weight down? Why? Why are you making these life choices? Another 50 kilogram weight down. Why don't you go save money first before you try to do this with your life? Another 50 kilogram weight down. Why don't you go get MBA first and get really qualified or something? Another 50 kilograms down. So again, this version of you is trying her very, very best to ascend by 100. But currently, every single time that you allow people's advice and opinions to make your identity sway because they are more credible, because they're adult, because they're your best friend, because they lived the world before you, and you don't listen to yourself, you have 200 kilograms weighing you down. So you're going up by 100, but you're getting tugged down by 200. So now you're even operating at minus, and even if you use immense willpower to now try to ascend by 200, but as long as you let another one of these, Why? Tug at you energetically. You're gonna break even. So you still get a bit of success, but then it gets taken away from you rapidly. You will still make reality obey you in January, but by June, it's like, what the hell, man? What the hell? And the thing is, my greatest challenge for a long time was getting reality to obey me 365 days a year, and not reality obeys me in March because suddenly I became motivated and excited to make things happen. But then as soon as somebody gives me an input and skepticism and like, why are you doing this though? But why? Then you start to conflict your inner desires with other people's desire and their perception. And the minute that happens, by September, you're like, where's everything that I created? Where's that dream that was supposed to come in the physical reality? So that's why mastering others, for sure, mastering other people's opinion is strength if you want to change other people's opinions of you. But mastering your inner state, yourself, is true power, as said by Lao Tzu in Tao Te Ching. So we're going to do that, and let's get started with the solutions. Okay. See, one of the most essential things about conquering yourself and making reality obey you is that you've got to know where your blind spots, your weakness, and emotional hindrances are. And many years ago when I was doing interview coaching, and it was 2020, I think. So I was doing it in that year. And I found this TED video by Shaolin Master Shi Yang He, I believe. And what happens is that in this TED talk, it blew up. Because the way he explained the concept of hindrances and the pathway to true self-mastery is so simple, but it touches the heart of many people, including myself. Because as somebody who's always about, get a degree, get a job, all we think about is narrow way of approaching things in the physical plane. But then when I think back about how do you conquer yourself to get the high grades and all the things I used to want and I didn't get, it's about coming face to face with these hindrances of yours. So the first one he talks about essential desire. And my greatest hindrance actually is sensual desires. So he talks about how when a person climbs the mountain and you're supposed to have this straight trajectory to climb the mountains. But the thing is, as you walk along this mountain, there's a shiny object syndrome. Because the thing is, honestly, as somebody who was young but just emotionally stunted and didn't really grow up socializing much and just pretty sheltered and raised in a strict way, the minute that I got into my 20s and I was like, I'm gonna level up my energy and just glow up and, style myself properly and look smacks and everything in my 20s, I was getting a lot of attention from men, and it was just like, it's like I had endless options at the time. And I didn't know that this feeling of, I have so many people to choose from, and egoically, those kind of stuff, that was my hindrance. So it was my shiny object syndrome. So up till this day, when I'm asking myself what's going on in your 30s, what's happening? It's like I was constantly living the later years of my 20s, and right now trying to regain the power that I didn't have in my 20s, where every time some guy comes in, I would easily divert my attention towards feeding my ego instead of putting my 100% into my vision. So even though I was always ambitious, but every time, every step of the way, no matter what career path, no matter what industry, in my 20s, it's always just naturally people just kept coming in. And I kept getting swayed by compliments, by attention, and this feeling of, oh my God, how is this possible? Wow, I must be very attractive. And so this is the thing that distracts you getting to the goal, because the thing is, if you don't have a sharp focus, that you are able to endure the boring times where things are supposed to be silent and things are supposed to be focused and locked in. That's why the actual vision of the life that you want, it doesn't materialize in the physical plane, because your energy is like, again, you're trying to ascend by 100, but then the sensual stuff, the desire, it tugs at you by 100. So you're breaking even and starting back at 0 each and every time. And that was my greatest mistake in my 20s. But the thing is, these other 4 desires I'll list out to you are not really my struggles, but just this one alone can stop you from earning the income that you want, having the job that you want and sustaining it, having a lifestyle that you want, and the respect from people in the industry that you want long term. Just this one alone, at least it stopped me for many years. But the second one is interesting, it's aversion. And it's this like, I will get to it. And it's just like negative self-talk. In a way, it's kind of like procrastination, where I will film that YouTube video. I will take that action. At the time I was getting downloads to post videos onto LinkedIn and do all these things to get video testimonials and post them to get clients. And at least this one wasn't my hindrance, but one of my imposter syndrome at the time was charging people money. So I would have this there's a part of me that's like, I don't want to charge people money. I don't want to take their money. Because I was always raised to believe that if you take people's money, without working at a Thai restaurant and cooking food, and you transact with a physical thing, but if you're going to take people's money from intangible thing, like I promise that you can get a dream job in 90 days, and they don't end up getting that job, then I felt really guilty. So I felt scared of charging people money. So then sometimes I'll I will send out this DM later. I will close later. I will this, I will that. But because I was stronger than this aversion, eventually I was able to make the sales and have people literally be like, how much do you cost? How much do you charge? Okay, let's get started. Even without getting onto the sales call. So sometimes I was on LinkedIn and people saw my video testimonial that I told myself, you have to post it. And then they'll be like, okay, how much do you charge? I say this, okay, let's get started tomorrow. And it happens just like that. But the thing is, sometimes you might have, other hindrances like restlessness. And this was something that I also went through, where your mind is jumping mind. So this is called the monkey mind as well, where you can't get your thoughts to shut up. Well, at least for me before bed, when I'm constantly thinking about, well, how do I grow this channel? How do I make this money? How do I reach my success? What happens is that your brain in this restlessness state, your brain is in this beta brainwave state. And if you want to impress your subconscious while your brain is tumultuous, then you just can't. Because you can't make something that's unstable and try to put something in and make sure that it stabilizes. It won't. And restlessness is a hindrance that you may come across, where your mind jumps like a monkey from one tree to the other tree and it won't stop. And therefore you end up lacking sleep the way that I did for many years. You think so many things at night and you post things on internet like I used to on Instagram, because I had such monkey mind and analysis paralysis, and I would vent and write long posts about where I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, and instead of it attracting positive results, it attracted a lot of people who then feed off this desperation to succeed from me at the time. So therefore, you want to be careful that as you climb this mountain, you don't have thoughts that go all over the place and it's dissected attention, diversified attention, to the point where you can't get to your goal. But you want to narrow your focus, which leads to dullness. So it's like life is feeling heavy. It's heavy. And I felt this quite a few times when the outer reality just wouldn't give me what I want. And suddenly, because I don't know what's happening and I didn't know that I was the cause, and reality was effect. That's why it was so hard for me to get rid of this heaviness at the time, where it was like, why are people being like this? Are they jealous of me? Are they this and that? And I was getting entitled and all these weirdness came like a dark cloud to suppress me, to keep me staying the same. When, okay, part of it might be envy, but a lot of it is also your self-inflicted pain. So sometimes we inflict unnecessary pain onto ourselves because we overly observe our 3D environment, and then we interpret it as, I'm a loser. I can't do this. Why not? And that is what, the heaviness will literally, it's like you're carrying a bunch of weight and bags and you just can't get to the top because it's way too heavy. And the last one that he talked about was skepticism. Which is like, should I really do this? Like pessimistic thinking. And it's interesting because when I was trying to build the life that I wanted to build in the way that I wanted to build it, and I used to share it with my friends, like, you know what, I want to start this business, like way back, 7 years back. They'll be like, but you don't have experience. But those people are scams. Oh, but Napoleon Hill, like, yeah, he wrote Think Rich and Grow Rich, but he's a scammer too. Like, I had people say that to me, and things like, but that person, MLM is scamming. That's a scam. Everyone's a scam. And eventually, because I had a mixture at the time of restlessness, dullness, and also a lot of sensual desire, a lot of distraction, eventually I let this skepticism get to me. So I was like, maybe they are a scam. So then you start to sway, your sense of self starts to sway, like, are they really a scam? Am I a scam for charging money? Am I just like taking advantage of people that, I help them get jobs, but then like before they get the job, they pay me the money first. Am I a scam for doing that? So I used to ask myself this, and there were times where sometimes the company's decision to hire is delayed and it's not within our control. So they're like, we'll get back to you. But they made my client wait 6 months. Deloitte made my clients wait for 6 months because there was some weird like season, freeze happening. And I felt a lot of guilt at the time when my clients would have to wait so many months just to know, oh, you didn't pass the partner interview. So they would pass the first round because they came with me and we did the assessment center, role play and stuff. Then the second interviews, we did a bit of role play. Then by the time it gets to the partner interview, some of them didn't get past it and I would just collapse. My heart would break from it. So I would start to feel like skepticism towards myself that I'm a scam, that I couldn't help people get jobs when they already paid me money, and it was just horrible. And that's why myself at the time couldn't get to my goal. So we have to not do this to ourselves. We have to not let our hindrances get in the way, because the minute that you know what your main hindrances are, which it can be a mixture of everything, but my main was sensual. The minute I realized that I was easily swayed by shiny object syndrome because I was raised in a strict environment and wasn't really allowed to do anything as a teenager. So the minute that people just kept coming in, I just couldn't control my urge to engage in conversations that didn't serve towards my goal, to spend time with people who told me that they can help me get to my goal, but they couldn't. And the minute you get to this, you are already like halfway to win against your reality. So, now that we've identified that hindrance, I'm going to show you the journey within this point of two versions of you. The one who couldn't identify her hindrance and the other one who can. So this is the egoic version of you who has no idea what the hell's going on because her hindrances are holding her back. Whereas this version of you is smart, like my current self, and she's taken the elevator up, her consciousness elevator up to this point where, her 1 million revenue or the 100 grand Google job or a sales promotion and overall just an abundant life, like abundant, wealthy life. She's mentally, she's already here. And the reason why she's already here is because she knows what her hindrances are. Because if you can't face the monstrous demon inside of you and be like, I see you, I know of you, I'm not gonna even fight you. Well, let's sit down and have a real conversation. And I decided that I'm gonna be above you, the hindrances. So therefore, this version of you is unaware. She's unaware. So then let's just say the next 90 days. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna get so motivated the way that I used to. And I would start to like send out DMs and stuff, post video testimonials. Or when I was in like Toastmasters and stuff, I would just take a lot of action. And again, like I'll get praises and stuff, and then I'll get distracted and everything. So this version of you takes blind action. But the thing is, because a lot of personal development videos say you gotta take action to make things happen, as a result of you taking blind action, what then happens is that the actions, you get swung back down by the pendulum. So in reality transurfing, which is really interesting, the concept of if you dislike apples, energetically, you're saying, apples, please come to me. So every single time you hated seeing apples in your field and you feel frustrated, like, why is an apple here again? The more you hate it, the more you're like, apples, can I please eat you and chomp on you? So when you start to be like, but I hate it when I take a lot of action and I get 0 results. Again, this is now the 3D not obeying you. So the 3D is not obeying you by giving you ghosted or undesired result. You start to feel frustrated. And then you get swung back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until again, you reach this point where you try to ascend by 100, you get pulled down by 100, and then you break even. Because every single time reality gives you, it's not obeying you, it's like, nah man, your blind action, it's a trap. Because reality is not about taking blind action. It's about merging your mental, spiritual, and physical plane. But if you're only going at it physically, and maybe a bit mentally, you kind of understand the theories of it, but you're just going to take a lot of action without mentally elevating yourself, consciously elevating yourself to be in the end state. You're taking every single action as the version of you who is at no end state. So therefore, you're always going to be on the journey. And if you're always on the journey internally, you're like, I'm frustrated. So as within, so without. So then if you're like, I'm frustrated and I don't have the result within. So then without, how can without give you results? How can reality obey you? Because within, you're like, I don't obey myself. So you think that you do by taking action, but if you really obey yourself, you're going to be aware of your hindrances. And you're going to sit down with have a mental conversation at least, like I did, with your hindrances and say, nah, I'm obeying my higher self. And by obeying yourself, you don't give in to these feelings of frustration. You don't give in to disappointment. You don't give in to discouragement. You don't allow any negative emotions to make you sway off your path. So therefore, these emotions can also be generated from sensual desires, getting distracted, and you're like, far out, I regret doing that. I regret wasting my time. It may be dullness. Oh my God, it's so heavy. So frustrated, it's so heavy. It might be skepticism. What? I'm a scam now. Shaming yourself. Feeling apathetic and feeling like embarrassed that you're doing this. Skepticism. It might be things like restlessness. Now I'm damn it, my mind's going all over the place like a monkey and I can't control it. Oh my God, I feel so much shame. Oh, I feel so hopeless. And the other thing, what was the other thing? Aversion. I will do it later, procrastinate. You're like, damn, I regret it now. This year I could have done better if I didn't procrastinate, kind of thing. This is what happens because the hindrance came to control you. So therefore, you're not obeying yourself. So how can reality obey you? But the version of you who has what you want, she's here and she's really smart. So therefore, every cell of her body, her self-concept, her decisions, her mental attitude, her thoughts, her emotions, her belief, self-talk, focus, attention, expectation. Everything is absolutely congruent to the version of you who has. So the minute that you have it, every time the hindrances come up, which it will sway you. What happens is that this person, she started at the end. So even though physically she's here, and let's just say after 14 days, she's like only here. But she knows that even though physically I'm seeing no results, like my 2 YouTube videos, I just got like 30 views in 2 days kind of thing. It's like physically, it's not here. But mentally, it's here at the end. I'm at the end. So you have to be at the end, even if physically you're just starting. Because what happens is that now that you start to conquer yourself internally, there's going to be some weird things that the 3D throws at you because the old frequency doesn't want you to part ways with it. So it's going to like give you a situation where, far out, man, I uploaded 2 of my videos. It's so good. The views, subscribers, algorithm, not giving me what I want. Am I supposed to feel rejected by life like I used to? No. But the minute that you interpret things negatively, hence skepticism, a hindrance, hence dullness, heaviness, hence restlessness. Damn it, what do I do to go over there? See the hindrance. The minute you interpret this negatively, you're going to lose. But to make reality obey you, you're going to interpret this neutrally. It's okay. I'm there mentally, I'm at the end already. I am at the end. I am. So therefore, no matter what you see in the 3D, lack of movement, situations getting worse, people trying to distract you, people from your past trying to trigger you and stuff like that, you're at the end. And once you're at the end, you're like, whoa, I'm gonna go up again. I'm gonna try again. And I'm doing this as the version of me who's in the end. So I'm gonna keep going up, 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 and then I reach an exponential point around this mark. And what happened here where you reach the inflex point? Well, you actually, I think the first 45 days, the first half, you compound your energy correctly. But in order for you to compound correctly, what happens is that at every single dip that you will eventually experience, a hindrance comes up. So again, if, let's just say like my literal life situation at the time, I'm starting to be successful a bit. People are recognizing me. So like people like with fancy titles are reaching out. I'm like, whoa, they don't even email like wealthy people in their ecosystem. Why are they reaching out to me kind of thing? So I started having ego get in my way, and that was a sensual desire. So attention, recognition is my sensual desire. And when there's too much of it, my identity starts to get swayed. And so when I lose it a bit, when there's too much and then too less, and my inner self starts to sway, therefore, I give in to frustration. But most importantly, I also gave into overwhelm. I gave into confusion, and I gave into a lot of restlessness. Sometimes when I couldn't find the answers as to why people, recognized me at the time. So there was a lot of imposter syndrome. There was a lot of like hindrances that eventually my energy never compounded correctly to get to this inflex point. So therefore, when you are able to identify one of those 5 hindrances that's holding you back and face it head on, your journey is going to look like, oh shit, hindrance, hindrance, hindrance again. You identify it, you don't engage with it, and then you're able to let it go. You're able to release it and eventually get to this point where physically, now you're going to merge your physical with your mental and have exactly what you want. So let's move on to the next step. It's really interesting that when I used to begin swimming, and I was swimming a lot 4 years ago, trying to beat my own record, there was a lot of things that get in the way when I'm swimming. So this is me trying to do my 1,000 meters and eventually go more than that, 1,500 to 2,000 meters, which I did do 4 years ago. But the journey to getting there is a bit weird because there would be seaweed in the way. So I'm just trying to swim. Then suddenly there's these like weird things tugging at my foot and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I literally panic and be like, whoa, man, something's tugging at me. And it feels scary. There'll be things like giant swells. So I'm swimming at the ocean water. And sometimes like on windy days, the swell is really huge and it can throw you to the other side of the lane. And once that happens, I'm not wearing goggles, so I can't see anything and there's like white foams everywhere. And because 4 years ago, I had a lot of hindrances, I would be like, oh my God, I'm panicking. I don't know what to do. Like this is coming. So that's happening. Then there will be things like swimmers overtaking me. So because I tried to swim in the fast lane a lot and I was slow and I didn't have proper techniques, so many people would overtake me, especially like people that have bigger builds, like tall, muscular, athletic people who their one stroke is 5 of my strokes. So it takes me 5 strokes just to be the equivalent of their 1 stroke at the time. So then my speed was so slow and I was swimming in with the wrong techniques and my strokes weren't long. So I always have people being like, but I think you should go to the slow lane. That's the lane that's for you. I even had a lady tell me last year when I was trying to do 2,000 meters on 4 a.m. wake up and I was starting to build the momentum towards it. She said, I can swim, but you can't swim. So you need to move to the safe lane because the swell is very dangerous. But I can save you though if you end up like, but at least just go to the safe lane. So I knew that she wasn't trying to insult me. She was just wanting me to be safe. But the way she expressed it would have really triggered my old self. But because I understood her and I was like, I understand. So I'm going to go to the safe lane. She was like, good girl. Because she knew that with my kind of swimming technique, if another one of those huge, humongous swells hit me and there are other swimmers that are swimming past and I don't have goggles, it's going to cause a huge accident. So the thing is, I would have people telling me all the time, you need to go to the slow lane, like you don't belong in the fast lane kind of thing. So therefore, I had all these things come up to my journey to swimming, including like cold shock. Because sometimes I would swim in like really cold temperature for too long. There was even a day where I spent 6 hours at the swimming center. So I would try to reach 2,000 meters and it was only the end of winter 4 years ago. So I would swim, go back to sauna, 10 laps, go back to sauna kind of thing. And it was just crazy. Like my body was turning purple and I felt like I was on the verge of like a breakdown. But it was fun, but it was dangerous. So I was shaking like uncontrollably and my lips were purple and I had a cold shock. So sometimes when I couldn't maintain that, I would also get an anxious, like literally, like a nervous breakdown at the pool. So I'll be like, I can't breathe, like I feel so anxious. People are watching me swim. There's like people everywhere and they're looking towards the pool and I couldn't swim because it was just too overwhelming. But eventually, because I identified that a lot of these were just hindrances, I learned that the only way for me to neutralize these events is not to tell the seaweed, can you please get out of the way? Can you do that? Can you actually tell the seaweed to like, don't annoy me. I'm trying to swim here. Or can you actually tell the ocean water, the giant swells on a windy day, that can you please not like throw me to the other side of the lane when it's a windy day? Can you actually tell the wave, the ocean water, to stop, coming in and out, in and out? Can you tell the swimmer to please mind your own business and don't tell me what to do? I mean, technically you can, but can you really do that sustainably? Where like, if you're just sustainably a slow swimmer in the fast lane, people are telling you like, for your own safety, please just go to the safe lane so you don't get hit. Can you really like make people stop telling you stuff like that when it's the truth for that time? Can you control yourself from the cold if the ocean water is cold? Can you tell the ocean water in winter, can you please not be that temperature? Can you please not give me goosebumps, I'm cold? And can you tell, the crowd, like, sorry, the tourist in peak season, can you please not come to this beach, like an iconic swimming location, and can you stop like taking pictures at a touristy spot? You can't. What I'm trying to say is that when you can conquer your mental atmosphere, you're gonna soon realize that you just don't need to change the 3D reality. The 3D reality, when people lose at this game, they try to fight it. They try to fight it. And the thing is, if I stop swimming at that place, I'll never become the swimmer that I am today. But if you want to still continue, you have to accept that. Sometimes there's going to be a seaweed. Sometimes there's going to be extremely cold water. And if you want to swim 1,000 meters and you're weak at the time, you have to overcome it. Because eventually, yesterday, I did a 15 minutes cold plunge in one go, like no other reps. And I was like, what the hell, how's this happening? But I felt peaceful. I felt really, really nice. I just, it feels so beautiful. It's like so peaceful here. But that's because the last 2 weeks I've been swimming 1,000 meters with no break and the water's cold. So my body got used to it. But I can't tell the cold plunge. Cold plunge, can you please like up your temperature level? Because if you want to do 15 minutes cold plunge, you don't tell the cold water to please get less cold. You adapt your body and your mental state to sit there peacefully for 15 minutes if you want to sit for 15 minutes. So therefore, you don't play the game backwards by fighting your environment. You don't need to fight your environment. But what you need to do is conquer the way you talk to yourself. Because ultimately, let's have a look at this, all right? So this is two versions of you. This is Patty who has at the end state, and this is Patty who wants. Now, I'm gonna give you a situation. Let's just say both Patties, Patty who wants and Patty who has, gets ghosted after going to a job interview. Both of them are getting ghosted. Patty who wants and who's not aware of her hindrances, there's a bit of aversion, there's a bit of skepticism with like the job market. There's a lot of sensual desire. So like after she does a job interview, she seeks validation. Like, I went to this job interview kind of thing. Patty who wants and she's ghosted. She's like, it's not fair. It's not fair. They suck. Everyone sucks. Everyone involved in this state. They don't see my talent. They don't get it. I'm so talented. They suck. They're not smart. Or like, I'm too good for them. That's what I used to say all the time. I'm just too good for them. That's why they didn't choose me. Patty who wants is like, the world is against me. What else? What else do you say to yourself when things don't go your way? It never works. And how about this one? Again. They rejected me again. They ghosted me again. Damn, these people. But again, like as much as, yeah, you can make an influence to how people want to choose you, but do you go tell Jane, who just ghosted you, saying, Jane, can you please not ghost me? Do you really have the power to literally verbally, from the egoic version of you, who doesn't know any hindrances, and you walk up to Jane, to her office and be like, Jane, can you tell me what my result is? Can you really get what you want by doing that? You can't. So therefore, you don't play the game backwards by doing this. Either way, both Patties in both universe, because she has some baggage with her past and old frequencies throwing her weird, wonky situations to make her stay in frustration, discouragement, disappointment. Patty who has, she's gonna be like, well, to me, today, I literally say, whatever. It'll work out eventually. She says, it's none of my business. None of my business what Jane chooses to think. Technically, it is your business that Jane gets back to you with the job interview and she says, look, Patty, we're willing to hire. Technically it is, but you don't control Jane's behavior. You just don't. Also, you don't control Jane's department. Let's just say Jane is HR, but the company, like her boss is like, we're not hiring this month. So you can interview a bunch of candidates, but we're not really sure we're gonna hire in the next 6 months, which would happen to my client at Deloitte. You can't control Jane. Like Jane can't make the decision because she has a boss who makes the decisions. So you can't really get angry even at the stakeholders because maybe they're not the key decision makers. So therefore, she's like, I'll film today. Forget it. I'm gonna do things that I enjoy doing. So I love making beauty reels. I love doing makeup. I love dressing up, wearing bikini, wearing, outfits, like a pop stars kind of outfit. And I just feel so empowered when I do that. So instead of me just waiting for a job out of anxiety or waiting for things to happen outside of me, in the meantime, let's do something that nourishes my soul. So things like, you know what, I'll go swim. I'll go to bathhouse like yesterday and I'll just do 15 minutes cold plunge, whatever. See, the thing is, this person, she's severely attached. This person, she's detached. So if you were reality itself, if you are reality, who are you going to obey to? Are you going to obey to this version of you who is attached and therefore powerless? Or if you are 3D reality and suddenly there comes like you who's like detached and you're like, whatever, doesn't matter, I'm a pedestal. Now you show reality and you show the universe who's the boss here. So who's the boss? It's you. So you are the one that has power over it. And what's the difference between an attached person and a detached person? Well, they're hindrances. Again, they're hindrance. Their aversion, their I will, oh, you know what? I'll go swim later. I'm just gonna like sit down and just get anxious. He's not texting me back or things like that when I'm in my 20s something. I'm just gonna wait for him. I'm not gonna go swim. I'm not gonna like go lift weights or anything. I'm just gonna wait for it. That's you giving power to reality. Or what about things like dullness? Oh, but what about like restlessness? You're like, damn, did I say something wrong in the interview? Did I say the wrong thing? Did she not like what I said? And you start to let your hindrances control you because your thoughts are aligned with the version of you who lets your hindrances control you by complaining about it, like that. Complaining, but then also feel like victimized by it. Whereas sometimes I still complain, but I know that I'm just complaining for the sake of venting, but not really feeling that frustration for too long. This version of you, sometimes you might complain, yeah, they suck too, I know, they suck. But they have zero emotional charge. It's not that you don't sometimes, like if things new, like objectively, people like, yeah, she sucks, or he sucks kind of thing, you acknowledge it, but you don't feel below it. They don't control your emotional state. This person, because their thoughts are congruent to the version of them who's detached, they have power over reality. So therefore, no matter what they say, yeah, like this could have been better, it could have been handled better, but they don't care because they are the pedestal and they allocate their times to doing things that keeps them on the pedestal, which, moving on to the third point, this is how we're going to do it. Now, the final point of this video is that we need to learn to take the steering wheel of our own life. And there was a quote by Jim Rohn, which I don't exactly remember line by line, but I said this quote at the end of my sales speech. At that time, I had zero sales experience in corporate. And I went in very naive, but I practiced my speech 20 times the night before. I wrote that speech at 7 p.m. the night before to present it in like 11 a.m. the next day at this head office in CPD. And I ended that speech with, it's not about the sail of the ship, not about the waves that determine your direction, but it's about the person steering the wheel, the captain of the ship. And so it's kind of like you want the world to pay you, and not just money. Let's just say you want the world to pay you 120 grand, like Google salary. It has to be like reputable company too. And it's like 6 figures and it looks good amongst your family's reputation. Or you're a business owner and you're like, I really want to get to close to 7 figures. But then you might want to get paid other things in life. I want to be paid with respect from people. I want to be paid with the partner that I want. I want to be paid with friendships that I want. I want to be paid with the exact lifestyle that I want and community that I want. So paying yourself is not about dollar figure only. It's about the entire makeup of life that makes it wholesome for you. And basically what you're saying is that I want to be, when you're saying pay yourself, I want to be deeply satiated by life. So I had this, met this PT at the swim. He's really, really cool. And he was doing 3,000 meter swim in one go. And I was like, holy crap, like I want to do that. But he somehow like is calibrated towards achieving that kind of goal easily. And he was like, yeah, I'm in Sydney for like 14 days. I'm based in New York and just came here to visit my parents and I come to swim at this place every day. So like his normal caliber is 3,000 meters. So I'm like, damn, I want to learn from him. And then he tells me about like his intermittent fasting period. And he says how he doesn't eat his first meal until 2 p.m. And he focuses on protein a lot as well. So he's very careful with his diet. So he looks amazing. And the thing that he says is that if I'm hungry in between, I have butter to feel satiated because butter is good fats. So I remember that term always. I always remember that term that he said to me, deeply satiated. Let's just say that life cannot satiate you right now because, like people are just in their own life and they're busy with their own things and they have their own things going on and they can't satiate you. They can't satiate you with money, attention, recognition, fame, or whatever you want. You have to learn how to deeply satiate yourself ahead of time before it lands in the physical reality. And how you do this is that you create self-generated evidence that you are the captain steering your ship. You are taking the lead. So let's just say that you want, let's just say Jane is part of your reality. You want Jane to obey you by saying yes to you. You want Joe, who can give you $100,000 contract for your business and eventually move up to, like $100,000, and eventually you make $1 million. And you want Joe to obey you by giving you the contract, by saying a yes. You want Jim to respect you and give you a good friendship, so therefore Jim obeys you. You want Josephine to, give you the most amazing companionship and give you the time of your life where like you get to bond together and swim together and do beautiful activities together, so therefore obey you. If Jane, Joe, Jim, and Josephine doesn't give you any of this in a 3D reality, you have to take the lead. In order for them to obey you, then you have to create some tangible evidence in the physical plane, not just mental, that you obey yourself. So therefore, as much as we can get into the alpha brainwave state and we can prime our mind by meditation, hypnosis, I've done those things and they work to a degree, but you have to do it in a way that really, really works for you. So you might do subliminals at night as well. Like you keep the whole, I love myself on for the whole night. And you're in this alpha brainwave state, or you're even in theta, deep sleep. And you impress your subconscious with these things. I love myself. To me, I don't think it's enough. I've done it. But I seriously felt moved and believed myself when everything was happening in the physical reality. So let's just say I prime my subconscious. I have a bikini bod, At the times I didn't have it. But then I don't go and lift weights. I don't try to do squats. I don't try to push up. My diet's still the same. How can I believe myself I'm going to have that bikini bod? Going into things like when I used to deadlift 70 kilos, like just once though. Usually I was doing like maybe 50 to 65 kind of thing. But there was one time where the PT, like she believed in me and she was like, just, you can go for another 5. So we did 70, like four reps. And at the time, if I didn't start lifting 30 and 40 and build up my muscle, like in my imagination, I tell myself every night, and I listen to subliminals, you can deadlift 70, you can deadlift 70, you can deadlift 70. But in the physical world, you just stay on the treadmill and all you do is just like 2 kilogram weights. How are you going to believe yourself that you can lift 70 kilograms? So therefore, if you seriously want reality to obey you fast, and not just lie to yourself that, I know all this stuff, the spiritual stuff, did the inner work, but things are just not showing. On the first day that you do this, you want to fall asleep, absolutely, in the state of the wish fulfilled, where that is, you feel deeply respected by yourself, you feel like it's done, like Neville Goddard says, you fall asleep in a state of wish fulfilled, for sure, you do that. But then, once you wake up and you brush your teeth and you wear clothes and you go out to do your thing, prove to yourself that you're the real deal, prove it. So, prove to yourself that you are diligent with your discipline. For example, when triggers hit you, I don't react. I don't react the same way. Or you can still react because we're humans, but you don't react the same way. Prove it to you, prove it to myself. I went to swim 1,000 meters again, so I can probably swim another 1,000 meters. Prove it. Work out. Long walk, self-loving action. You know, on the day that yesterday when I did 15 minutes cold plunge, I never did subliminals towards it. I don't care about it because I know that my body can do it. And once you know it, you don't have to subliminal it or hypnosis it. So the thing is, the reason why I can do 15 cold plunge, and today I'm still filming, not burning out or anything, and not sick, is because you prove to yourself that I would jump into the cold plunge. I proved it so many times. Not just the cold plunge, but I proved myself I'm willing to swim in the cold for like a whole year, just like constantly swimming at icebergs and stuff, and it's cold. So prove it by doing the thing. You do this on your first night and first day. But is that enough? It's not enough. Prove it again the next day. Prove it to me that you're the real deal. Is 2 days enough? Well, some people would like to think so, but what happens if you prove it over and over and over and over? Prove it for 90 days, at least 90 days. That you are the real deal. I say I'm going to do a cold plunge for 15 minutes. Well, I didn't say that, but I said I will do a cold plunge today, this morning. And I woke up at 4:30 yesterday and didn't really get enough sleep or anything and traveled far. And it was like really foggy and cold. I told myself, look, if your body can't handle it, just go and do 4 minutes, which is my minimum. It's easy for me. But because somehow like I was aligned and I primed my body the right way, went to the hot tub first. The minute I got into the cold plunge, I just dipped my foot in and stayed there for a bit until my body was comfortable. And I was like, look, just prove it to me that you're still fit. So I proved to myself by getting out of the hot tub, which is really comfortable for winter, and going to the cold plunge. I wasn't very attached about the minutes, but it was nice. So I stayed very long. But let's just say that now you want to prove to yourself that I am a winner of my reality. If you don't win on the first time or the second time, and you don't even win on the first 14 days, keep proving that I'll try again. I'm going to try again. I'm going to squat again. I'm going to lift again. If I really want to swim, if I really want to swim 1,000 meters or lift 55 kilogram or 60 kilogram for that period, and on my day 14, I'm failing, I'm not going to tell the weight, please wait, can you please lighten yourself? I'm not going to tell the pool and the swimming pool, please can you make it easier for me to swim here when it's not going to get easier? But you prove to yourself that you're willing to try again. So even if it means you're gonna fail again, prove it to yourself that you're not scared of failing. I'm not scared of you, failure, and tell it. I'm not scared of you. And the more you like, failure, this is you and this is me. I'm the giant and you're the ant. And you treat every failure as just a tiny ant because you're willing to go at it again and keep proving to yourself in the physical world that you are who you say you are. So yes, you fall asleep to it and you meditate inner work, but now do the hard thing too. Actually jump into that cold water. Actually film that YouTube. Actually publish the video. Actually put yourself out there. Actually go to Google head office. Actually get on that call with Joe. Actually be willing to get rejected by Joe. Actually go to that community that you want to be a part of. Actually go and say hi first. Actually make yourself welcoming and improve the way that you show up to the world so that these friends can find you. Actually put yourself out there and be the source of love for other people, even if in the end, he's not the one. But at least be willing to be kind to him. At least be willing to share some nice moments and not be skeptical and be like, no, I'm wasting my time on all these people. Prove it to yourself that you're willing to cross the bridge of disappointment. Because on the other side of fear and disappointment is victory. And that's how you make reality obey you at least 90 days or less. And also the next 90 days and next 90 days after your first 90 day. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are looking to get coaching, I'll be opening up a coaching service soon. And my purpose is to help high achieving women reach their tipping points in 8 to 12 weeks by raising their inner worth ceiling. All right. Hope you have a good day and bye-bye.